So, what made you choose your pup name?
Actually, that was given to me.
So given to you?
Well, yeah, I was working in the community. Actually, I had been out of the community for about 2 years, and I was steadily kind of moving back into it, and I was being welcomed back. And for me coming in as a pup, the person who gave me my name decided that if I was going to be introduced to the community, he wanted to do it publicly, to give me a kind of a name that towards the community. So
it was back on a person. Do you find that you spend time as a pup privately, alone?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm in pup space all the time.
So what's that experience like? I mean, you've obviously got a pup self that's very public and it's out there. But what's it like having the private moments? How do they differ?
I guess the private moments would be just me being like, if I see something that I enjoy, like a gentleman walking down the street, I'll bark at them. I'll be at work and I'll have I'll go outside and I'll bark to myself or whatnot. I have these moments where I can kind of, can integrate myself and just have, my own little puppy moments. And it's, and I find that it helps to contribute towards me keeping within the headspace at all times. And I'm actually in a job where I have a lot of private time. So I can, a lot of what I do, use that private time towards the community stuff, but it also keeps me in that puppy mode as well.
So from your master's in performance art, I got that right?
Yes.
You're aware that in the performance, that of course whenever you're performing, you generally have an objective. It helps guide you, like during the performance. These moments of puppiness are unobjected, they're unguided, unscripted. Do you have many scenes or like moments as a pup or times as a pup where you do have an objective of this is what I'm looking to do in this performance?
Yeah, well, I should say,
like an actor does when they're on stage.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When I do my drag performances, of course, that has a kind of a basic timeline statement to be made from the performance. Whereas me doing public events and things like that, you put on your public face or your community face for that situation, and you make sure that you hit your guidelines. You can make sure that you make as much effort into the community and the outreach as possible. But for me, every day, there's no real objective. And for me, coming from the background and the performers I've learned from. It's not about separating that political and the private. It's all kind of rolled up into one. So,
when it comes to performance, how do you find that you transact or that you interact with the audience? From your knowledge of performance art, you're aware that part of your experience of being a pup is you being a pup, but the other half of the experience is the receivers of your performance, the audience.
Okay.
Do you, during your unscripted moments, like when you're home alone, or that's obviously, there is no audience, when you're on stage, you must be really keenly aware of the audience and how you interact. Is there an intermediary? Are there places in between where it's not a stage and it's not alone, but you...
Actually, I think that we're all kind of striving to find that. You put I guess that I would say if anything physical, the mask would be that. You put this mask on, it kind of separates this part of your body. It gives a definite a separation between what the audience is seeing and then what you're feeling. And but that's a very interesting question, and that's kind of
which you also didn't answer.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's the thing though. It's kind of hard to answer because it's
eminently qualified. Though I have to say, Atlas, you're eminently qualified to answer the question. Possibly the best person to answer this question out of everyone who could answer this question. You're a master's in performance art, and very few people. I don't have a master's in performance art. Very few people would be able to give an informed, educated explanation. So when we're on a stage, the person is interacting with the audience. When we're alone in our own room, we're not interacting with anybody. In the places in between, what are the skills or what are the the forms? What are the techniques that you know to do that in as a pup?
Unfortunately, this would have to be something I have to sit down and kind of break down.
Is it something?
More.
Yeah, it's something you haven't really considered.
No. It's. I think that it's something. It's visceral. It's not something that you can actually kind of communicate. It's just something that you're doing and being.
So, what if I can? I don't mean to impose a meaning upon your statement here, but I'll just throw this out here, and please do correct me. So you would say, even though you've got the education and training, you're not using any of that in the in-between places. You're relying on instinct or gut or just feeling.
Yeah.
Aware that gut feeling is irrelevant and that instinct's actually just a kind of not a term that's really sensible here. You've divorcing yourself from your education and your understanding of it. You've got your skill in BDSM as well and your understanding of that. But in the in-between spaces when you're not in front of the audience, which you know exactly what to do, and you're not alone, what are the things that guide you to perform as a pup? What are the parameters for your pup play?
Well, as I said, I feel that you are trying to evacuate the aspect of that, just the visceral, just that thing. No. The fact that you're trying to do that it kind of escapes the entire essence of what that is.
So that's the essence of what you do. Is it's unscripted or it's unformed. Oh, and I think that's another question just arriving. But so, whereas other people in pup play in some other parts of the world, this zone in between is where their pup play exists. They tend not to pup play alone. They tend not to do it in front of a large audience, particularly for performance. They're doing it in these spaces like of either BDSM or just intimacy and friendship. They are learning rules or forms from each other or word of mouth, ideas, learning from masters, etc., etc. But you haven't done that you yourself. You've gone down a path that sounds different to me, where you say gut instinct, or you're just taking it from inside.
I guess they're just trying to be as honest in the situation as possible.
Yeah, so you're taking what you know as dare I say, you're taking like an actor's sensibility of the honesty of performance, and you're displaying that. And so,
because within my performative aspect, I don't see a separation between my body and the art. I don't see a separation between my actions and the art, because within my training, they can be the same at all times.
Yeah. So you're living the performance and you're rendering it.
But at the same time, though, I don't want. I feel that puppy is a way for me to kind of express it, but I don't want this to be the sole. Kind of to evacuate my part in the puppy play as just being a performance.
No, but I mean, and I don't mean to imply.
Yeah, no. But I could see how somebody would say that. Like, I'm just taking puppy and just making it a performance, whereas actually I found a way to make this a personality. Something that is real beyond just becoming like, well, I'm just following rules or I'm just being this.
This personality of Atlas. How does Atlas differ from Scott?
I'd say Scott is a little more reserved in the situation. He's very authoritative, but at the same time, Atlas has a way of getting fetching what he wants and just making. I guess it's trying to allow people to find some happiness within their fetish and within their whatever they want.
Scott, you don't feel that when you're in your living and expressing yourself as Scott, you don't feel that you're portraying the trait of being supportive enough and that as a pup that lets you do that in a bit more of a generous way.
Well, at the same time, a lot of people have said that, you're saying that when they put on the mask, they have a little way of kind of expressing these things. So it is to a maximum within the circumstance, and I think that's what it is. This is a very good way of saying it's a maximum of a persona or of a person. So.
Do you find that you're communicating and empathizing with the people that you're pup playing with?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, How does that differ from acting performance on stage?
I should just say I think that kind of draws into the situation of me being a boy and kind of failing at it. I tried to be an actor and failed at it, but when I went to be an artist, it clicked in. So I've been able to figure that out. Like me being a boy or trying to be this one thing just kind of failed, but then when I found this correct way of kind of making it kind of more fine-tuned, then it became kind of correct or real. So
a lot of the time, a lot of the time there is a discussions about what roles people have or what their learning is. Like, are they a sir? Are they a boy? Are they like an alpha? Are they this? Are they that? It sounds to me like you're talking outside of that box of labels when you talk about performing as your art. So this is a highly individual thing?
I think it would be. And the thing is though, I try my hardest not to kind of marginalize myself by saying I'm an alpha or any of the other states. And I get a lot of blowback for that because people automatically assume that I'm this alpha personality or this person. And that is not my goal in this circumstance.
You've obviously taken a path though of performing as a pup that's real and genuine, that isn't going to be labelled and defined necessarily by other people, but it's sincere and it has its own intensity coming from a knowledge of what you're doing and performance, and you're relying subconsciously on your education previously. Well, if you could pass that path on, what would you say are some of the key elements that, if there's pups out there or people out there watching, what would you say is some of the key elements to help kickstart along that way that you've done?
I don't know. I just say just take the leap of it. I don't know. Me going from where I was before to me joining in the leather community at 25, it was I went from a place of looking at BDSM and all this stuff as an education aspect, and then me jumping into it at the level that I just happened to jump into, which was this high compared to where I was. It's you try to find your own space in that, and I think that's where it kind of influenced this, because I was in a spot where I was completely educated about it and I knew what it was, but I had all this distance to meet, so I've been able to find my way up it.
Do you think, have you met any pups in your community who are like any other pup?
I mean, like any other pup, or
what's distinctly obvious to me as a non-American is that American pups are accentuating individuality. Like Americans themselves have the trait of I'm very individual, but what's obvious to me is that pup self is very much a personal forged path. I'm just wondering, have you noticed, I guess I'm hoping, do you need to disabuse me of that notion? Are there people who are like, no, there's production line pups, all right. There are people who are I just want to be like every other pup.
No, you get that communication, okay. And the thing is too is when it becomes into that, it turns kind of rancid in the situation. Like they talk about it as being something that's bad. You're going to have these fashion pups, or you're going to have these little puppies that are coming in for the moment. But at the same time, though, it kind of seems like they're exemplifying the situation in them. And but at the same time, though, I feel that any movement towards kind of just an expression of the puppy, whether it's just for an individual moment or for a group play like this, it helps the progression of it, no matter what.
There are pups or people who are coming into the pup scene in Texas. I'm just going to say,
not just Texas, unfortunately.
Well, perhaps the USA. Then we might broaden it a little. But I wanted to try and keep it regional to just not be personal to too many people who their mode of entry is to ape what they believe is to be a pup.
Yeah.
Where do they get that idea from? Because clearly they're not getting it from you, because there's not like 10 atlases out there, right?
No.
They're not following your path, which is choosing your path, being your own self. Where are they getting that concept from of what a pup is?
I think that it's the concept of people just wanting to have they want to believe that their state is so is like they are puppy. They are being so puppy that if somebody else is kind of pushing into that, it's kind of harming their identity of puppy. And I really don't think that's a good way of looking at it. You know, if somebody else is coming in from the sidelines or whatnot, they're there to be part of your group. They're not there to, you know, kind of marginalize you or push you around in the alpha scheme or things of that nature.
You obviously have a cooperative view of pup play, rather than a kind of I'm here just for somebody else or I'm here just for me. That possibly comes from your understanding of performance art and the need to not just ensemble, but that it's cooperative between actors on stage. That there's always a synergy there when it works best.
You read me real quick.
So that's true.
I could see that. Correct.
I'm not putting that in your...
No. It's actually with the group that I worked with is called Goat Island. From they performed in Melbourne and things of that nature, and did a lot of stuff in Europe. Their identity of performance is creating that cohesion between the performers and the audience, where there is no separation.
And so that's an ethos that you really have adopted, obviously.
Well, I think if you're dealing with persona play and whatnot, I think that's a very kind of like a fine statement in there.
Could you articulate that statement, kind of, because
and personality play?
Yeah, it might be really helpful for people who may be interested in getting into pup play, for them to hear this approach and this skill that you've got well developed. So just explain that a little bit to me. What the ethos is.
It's actually taken me a long time to do that. It's I guess it's just being in an imaginative state quite often, and kind of staying in that. And then also it's I think it's something that puppies do all the time too. They have little trinkets around them, and they have things to keep themselves in that moment. You know, and what it does is it just kind of envelopes you in this within the personality.
The same way that an actor on stage will use a tool to help them get into the mode.
A prop and whatnot, exactly.
They'll use a prop or a movement or an action. You're able to...
Issues of business and whatnot. So
what kind of trinkets or tools do you use? Obviously the hood.
The hood, the collar. I've tattooed myself with a puppy's paws.
And
to communicate that.
They're a tool as well.
Yeah.
How do you find the collar works for you as a tool?
It's actually something that I have. I guess being a boy, it kind of calls to that. It kind of makes me be in that state, and you know, it creates a submissive stance towards my own personality and towards what I'm doing.
So if you wanted to be a more dominant, less submissive pup, you might not wear your collar that.
I guess within that time, yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to say though, with the commingling of kind of fetish statements and kind of way that hankies have turned into a color code, not just the hanky itself, but like it can be fashion as well. That's completely can be out of the wash or completely taken into itself.
What role do you think the hood plays for you in your performance in not allowing your human face to be seen?
It's an extension. It's it's also at the same time it makes that separation with the folks around you immediate.
It immediately tells them, I'm puppy playing, I'm a pup.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. So that it's got.
But at the same time, though, it gives you, and it gives you some more. Well, I can go up and rub my face on somebody, and it's the same kind of affection and whatnot. But this right here has when you're completely in the mode of what's happening, it really has an affect towards what's happening.
It is an extending tool that really does help.
But plus the ears, they're always fun when you can wobble them.
You're a fairly articulate as a person and a community leader, and yet you seem a little reluctant to talk about your feelings.
It's I guess because I within all that I work towards the community and towards this other people, and just sharing what I feel can be felt for other people and helping them kind of feel that.
often
So-
when people are working very hard for the community and doing things, sometimes they're not getting back emotionally what they need. Like they can be very selfless. And are you getting? Do you have anything to say about the potential for people?
Puppy, what's that word? It's the word when you give, even though you know you're not going to get back. Altruistic.
Altruism.
Yeah. But actually, that's something when I found that word when I was in college, I figured out. And I figured out that because with my work, I don't get paid for a lot of what I do. Period. And for me, that is another aspect of making
so there's
art.
a lot. As you're not just an artist. You're familiar with as an artist being undervalued.
Yeah. Well, no. It's not just that. It's just the simple fact that I see that by me doing something where I'm not getting paid, or where I'm not getting any kind of monetary getting back. Actually, for myself, has this affect where I can give.
So,
but the thing is though, I found a way to, with donations and all the other things like that, I found a way to fluctuate it backwards.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of challenging questions, if that's okay. Altruism itself is a virtue, but often people can misuse it or overuse it for themselves, and they don't look after themselves. They don't put enough self-care in. And despite the fact that it would seem that being a pup, it seems very self-involved. Sometimes it can be, a pup can work really hard for the community and really not be getting back emotionally at the very least, possibly financially, in their energy and in their life, the things, the resources, what they put out, they're not getting back in return enough. How do you try and balance that exchange so that it's healthy?
I roll with the punches in the situation. Have
you got a sense of looking after yourself?
Oh yeah. Actually, the thing is that I find that when you get to a certain point within your social work, the community starts to give back. It's not just the take. They begin to kind of fluctuate back because they turn to you to do something. They want you to be involved in something.
What is that point, that tipping point when...
Actually, that right there, that just happens when it does.
It's a magical point
I've been able to just walk into a bar or a club, and actually when I came in, I said I've danced burlesque. I'm a master's degree. I can produce, and then now I can just say I would like to do this, and they're like, oh, here's all this. You can talk to these people about getting that. And then working forward there. And so for me, that right there, being able to produce just at whim is fantastic.
It is, and it's an empowering skill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
it doesn't come without a lot of hard work, but
as a citizen of Austin, you're proud of your city and you love your city. But as an American, how do you feel being a pup sits within greater America?
As you mean within the American pups or within the America itself?
Within America itself, as people, as a nation, as a group of people, 300 million or so. How do you think?
I think we just need the moment to jump out a little further, to be introduced to them. But at the same time, though, I know that a lot of subversive situations they want to keep that taboo in it. So, and America loves its taboos. It really does. And
why
it's because of our background, where we've come from,
From Puritans.
Of course. And that's where it's late. And for myself, I always say that Americans love their taboos, and they're not going to allow certain things to be given that freedom, because then it loses this effect that they have. It loses
the kind of sexiness,
exactly,
the naughtiness
exactly.
of being a taboo.
Yeah.
And would you say pup play within the whole of America is possibly more in that zone?
Well, for myself, I feel that a number of pups, but big P, it's a noun, it's a personality trait. There's a wanting to be part of just the leather community. They don't feel that they have to be part of all of it, but they really want to have a voice within that. So
it's very obvious that from an outsider to your country that Americans are individuals, and Americans obviously form clubs or cliques or groups where they are like-minded individuals, and that the country seems to be a melting pot of individuals and small groups, and often coming together as, and it forms a community. But where are you, as you sit here as Scott, wearing your pup hood, where are you in the American dream? In the average American? How do you relate to the average American? What would you say to the average American who might see this? Or who might want to, if they were here right in the room, what would you say to them? Because I'm not an average American, so that's why I can ask you this question.
Wow, I don't even know that. I mean, I don't feel any different than any of them, though.
So
like you said,
I don't feel any different.
I don't feel any different than them. I don't feel. So you said, like, we're all striving towards those different things. If we're all striving towards that, then there's no differences in the situation.
And you can see, for you, being a pup isn't being outside of America. It's part of the American experience. And it should be.
Yeah. Because this is apparently something that's kind of bubbled up from it, or bubbled up even just from a world community. This is something that's there, and it's so it's basic. It's a necessity, or it's a happenstance of it, I guess.
What would you say you have found in your experience that you'd like to pass on? If you had the opportunity just to say, look, I've got something that I'd really like to make sure that for posterity is kind of kept and somebody kind of hears it, because it may be useful to somebody somewhere.
Yeah. Wow, I don't even know. It's I don't know. I just, for myself, for anybody that you just strive to be in this situation, and it's really hard for me to kind of verbalize that, I guess.
So you haven't really thought about that before, of like, if you look, say, 20 years from now, what was the purpose of you being a pup? What did you get out of it? What did you personally as Scott go, hey, I really developed this great thing out of that, this virtue or this trait or this skill or this thing or this experience that was real and valid, and it's something I could really communicate. It's like I said, it's so physical, and in that it's I don't know. So for you, it's been a very physical experience, probably.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's it. So tell me about that. Tell me about how it's physical. Because your perspective is unique.
Mm-hmm.
As your people would say, all of your perspectives is unique, of course.
As your people.
But seriously, tell me about the physicality aspect, how it's physical for you. I did say I was asking a couple of tough questions.
Yeah. That's a hard one. It's I guess within myself, I find myself to be, I guess, so giving in the situation that I really kind of maybe don't think about myself in that certain way. So when you're being a pup, you've got a good conception. But at the same time, though, I guess within it, there is the service-minded aspect of it, and there is the aspect of control and whatnot. And for myself, even if I'm being controlling of myself in it, I am being that dominant state.
What does that mean?
Because for me to do something, if I have to make myself do it, I make it in a kind of authoritative manner towards myself. Like I'm being a master of myself. Whereas if I'm with somebody else, I allow that whatever that is to become somebody else. So within that, I become, I guess, this like solid service state.
So when you get to perform as Atlas, even at just
I guess that would be the solid service state. Like I become this. There's a necessity in me to be of service, and through Puppy, I find that to be the physicality of it is that.
When you're fucking, and you're having sex and you're having a great time, and you might feel this urge to be kind of dominant. And just Or you might go, you know what, I feel like being giving to my partner. Give me a cock, I'm going to give you head. Do you find that Atlas or Scott are there or present?
I very interchangeable. And the thing is that when I always feel that you should laugh during sex, and Atlas is definitely that laugh in there. I'll become a little puppy when we're like in the middle of it. And
that trait,
that's
Atlas
the
kind
fun.
of has that trait, as a persona.
Yeah.
But so no one makes a mistake and think we're dealing with Sybil and 70 personalities here.
No, it's just the one.
You've got a clear conception of your sanity, and that you are a man and a person.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is I think within anybody, every day they're fluctuating between being submissive and dominant towards something or somebody else. So that there's no, there's no necessity for the breaking of it. There just needs to be an understanding of the flow of your state.
That's really important, and I want to come back to that in a moment. But I still want to hammer you on the persona aspect, because you have some expertise in it. When you're interacting with people, do you sometimes, because you know performance art so well, do you sometimes, maybe you're manipulative and choose, well, maybe I'm going to take a different persona approach to this, rather than, sometimes...
What's the difference between somebody being professional and being casual?
Well, a casual person doesn't understand what they're doing.
No. When you go into a working situation, right, you have a persona that you have to be professional. But then you've got that one day a week that you can go in and you can be this casual person. What's the difference there? It's the same. They're the same person.
Now, that voice there, is that Atlas or Scott?
Which one?
The one that I just heard for 30 seconds there.
Are you okay?
Your body language changed.
I guess you could say that that's my. Well, I was once told that when somebody reads something that I write, that it's excessively more educated than when I'm speaking, and that's because I've got this education background in it, and I can converse in that, and I guess that might have been just might have been my master's school, whatever there. So
you mentioned about dominance and submission, and many people, these are code words for I'm going to spank you now, or you are my bitch slave, blah blah. Or
but that's the thing though. But that's
from 50 Shades of Grey to oh my god, it's.
But what you're saying though is you're saying about every day. You're not talking specifically for BDSM.
No, but many people conceive the words dominance and submission to be, especially since you're wearing a pup hood, they would just go straight to this is about bondage and discipline. So,
within that, you have to talk about it in two different languages as well.
But you're not talking about you're not talking about dominance and submission normally in terms of it's got to be in a dungeon, it's got to have a master. Are you? So could you explain that? Because many people go to the dungeon rather than where you're at. Could you tell us what it means to you? How this dominance and submission works in your expressions?
It's from what I kind of understand it is, like I said before, everybody's always in a submissive or dominant role within any type of their life, and it's no one's. There's always an alpha or a beta or something in any room, in these situations, and that's
coming from a culture which is really
question there.
No, but coming from a culture which is really egalitarian and determined for equality, where there is no alpha or beta, everybody's on the same page and we're all equal. Oh, sorry, you're all equal. How do you resolve?
No. You said that perfectly, but you rolled those two words together to make it you're illegal.
How do you equate that with the American pursuit of being egalitarian, of being equal, with submission and dominance and a hierarchy theory?
I have to say, I really don't feel that that's. Us trying to do that, it's never works. It always bleeds back into there's someone on top or there's someone below them, and And I think that they used certain standards of taboo to create that as well, and whether it's religious or political or the like.
Is it possible that your activity in community is a way of trying to address that imbalance?
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, and at the same time, like I said before, there's without there being the difference between political and private. It's that is pretty much a pursuit, even for a lot of feminist performance artists and whatnot. So I gotta say, and a lot of what I've learned from my school is feminist performance art, and it was identity politics and body politics. So this kind of ingrains into a lot of that.
Do you feel that pup play is unintentionally confronting?
No.
That's a leading question,
No.
obviously.
No. Because I don't think that it's coming from a humiliation standard. It wasn't meant to not to be jarring.
It's so coming from that BDSM
Yeah.
background for
Yeah.
pup play, it's meant to actually be the opposite. It's meant to degrade the person to make them seem less threatening.
So it seemed less threatening?
Well, it seemed non-threatening
Yeah.
to a master or sir or
No,
mistress.
I see what you're saying there. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because they're being this ultimate state of
many
of the
American
low.
pups have started taking up wearing a pup hood out in public in different places. Now, you as a performance artist, you're well aware of the nuance of behavior needed for performance art. But a lot of young people, particularly, won't have that education and experience, won't have had that wisdom given to them of how to handle these situations.
What do you think with their drive?
What advice would you give to them about how to wear a hood out in public? How not to freak out people?
I guess within that, actually, stay within your own personal pup space, but at the same time be affronting towards it and be willing to take that kind of the chance, because it seems that a lot of people are ready and willing to kind of drop their guard, and I don't know if that's something that with the way that the state of the world is now, if the fact that we have been kind of desensitized by television and just certain ways of seeing things like furries and the like, but it's very, people are very willing to just kind of drop that. So to find that kind of special moment in that situation to reach out.
The difference is maybe regional, though. Like here in Austin, may be very different to Omaha.
To a point, yeah. To a point.
In terms of getting out there and being kind of confronting,
but at the same time, though, you can with the internet, they still find a voice for that puppy. They don't have to go out in their mask. For them, the threshold is the internet, and then just taking that step to find that threshold should be like, that's what it is. I guess what it is. It's pretty much finding the threshold of the experience for wherever you are.
So one of the things,
in Austin, it is this persona right here, being able to walk out in public and be open and honest about it, is the threshold of Austin.
And that tells you something about the greater community of the city. One of the things I definitely take away from listening to you and understanding you is the importance of persona, the importance of developing the person that is the mask, that having that character, more than just simply I'm a wizard, I'm an elf, and role playing, or more than just I'm just selecting what I look like on my character online. It's a living, breathing manifestation of a different person.
But I will say this, though. I think that some of this comes from me from me being a stray puppy for a very long time, and then kind of forging myself within it, training myself and the like. Because I've never had like a proper handler training or one. I've had handlers to play with, but I've never had any like spot on, do this, do that. And then within that movement of me doing that, and then becoming kind of a like where I'm doing community work and trying to reach other people, it's become me trying to be this like from the top pup on the situation. And I think that has something in it as well. It's. Are
you a native of Texas?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you've taken a very Texan, a very self-starter very
I guess so.
lift myself up by my boots, kind of self-starting kind of attitude of I'm going to take the resources available to me and I'm going to make the best of it. And that obviously comes out in the story of you, like even as a stray, you instead of just feeling malaise over in a corner and whining,
actually, and that's what when I was a stray, that was the attitude I got from a lot of people. And I would reach out to them and I'd say, no, is this there? Because there was a lot of communication too, where people, if you didn't have a collar, then you couldn't be a pup. If you didn't have a handler or something, then you couldn't be a pup. And I was just like, well, I feel I have an innate feeling to be this, so I'm going to find it out for myself and figure it out. And then I wasn't given my name until it became a community situation, and then from that manifested from there.
What would you like to kind of give in part or say that you could communicate across something meaningful and it's representative of you, but also helpful because you are community-minded, service-minded, maybe to Austin? What would you say to the people of Austin about you, Atlas? What would you like to say to them or impart to them?
I guess just to see this as a viable, having a viable stance within the community. They've taken on the queer people and homosexuals and all of these other groups that they have, and they've created a lot of progress, and we are wanting to do that as well, to assist in that with what we've got, and we have our own little niche situation, and we can create some displays to help people out, but I think that we have a very, very well-minded affinity towards it.
When you speak on the internet, it's often, it can seem like it's just to the people of Austin or maybe just people from Omaha or Louisiana, just somebody nearby. But the truth is, the internet communicates to the whole world.
Yeah.
So if you would speak to the whole world, the rest of the world, all 5 billion or 5 and something billion of us, what would you say? What would you impart as Atlas? What would you like to say as a pup and as a person? What would you like to get across about pup play for us?
that's good right there.
Just a referral.
It's just that's about it. I mean, with that, it's.
Is it too large?
It's. I guess it's not too large. It's just. Unfortunately, I've very very kind of drawn out now.
That's okay.
I don't know. I see us everywhere. I see us everywhere when I look, and it's just not people. It's just not here in the mask or whatnot. It's just that's that kind of underlying feeling of whatever that is. It's there, and I think we should all explore it. And the thing is, and it's not just pup. It's pets, and it's whatever that is that creates that movement towards puppy play or towards that kind of service mindedness. So,
thank you very much. That last sentences was the best. It was perfect. You were really drawn out and tired, but that was actually the best.
Yeah. Well, it's true. There's something underlying that we all want to manifest in that, and I think that we should have that moment to do that.